Alright, who got the most recent upgrade? Raise your hand. Oh, great! Why don't you tell us a little bit more about it? Maybe I should take care of telling the people about it. Welcome back, Dylan with Beamer Tech. Real quick, if you haven't heard, Beamer Tech is expanding.
We are growing, so keep up.
We're entering a new chapter, if you will, and part of that new endeavor, Tesla. Of course, we're still the same company you've come to know and love, and we'll always continue to develop new offerings for BMWs, Minis, and Supras. But enough about that. If you want to learn more about this expansion, go check out the links in the description of this video. But for today's video, auto-presenting door handles for the Tesla Model 3 and the Tesla Model Y. The once unique door handles on the Tesla are now becoming commonplace. Not just with Tesla, but variations are appearing on other brands too. We decided to change things up with our auto-presenting handles, which will make your Tesla Model 3 or Model Y stand out from the rest with a custom look and unique function. Once these handles are connected, you can change the color of the handles to a bunch of different preset options. Once the handle is presented, simply press this button to cycle through the different options. Changing the color on one will change the color on all of the handles. These auto-presenting handles will automatically activate when you walk near your vehicle with your phone properly set up. Not only do they auto-present, but they light up with a color of your choosing, making them easier to see in low lighting and to simply show off. The all-black color of the door handles will set you apart from the rest, giving your Tesla a sleek look. Installation will take some time for this one, as it is one of our most time-consuming and involved products that we offer, but it can be done by following this video and the PDF instructions you get with your order. Our DIY Essentials Kit and Trim Toolkit will really help with this installation. While no permanent modifications, cutting, or splicing is required, you do have to take apart quite a bit. While this is still technically DIY, we do suggest taking this to one of our certified installers. You could find them in about 30 countries around the world. And if you're in the Orlando, Florida area, well then stop on by and we can do it for you. If you do decide to do this yourself, we suggest setting a weekend aside so you can make sure you have enough time to do this. In today's video, we're going to show you how to do this on the driver's side, as the passenger side is just the same. So without further ado, Jarrett, take it away. Now for the main installation. Let's start with the front door. First, with the trim tool, pop off this cover here. With a T30 bit on your ratchet, remove the screw. Remove this one under the armrest too. Finally, remove this reflector. And remove the T30 screw under it. With a trim tool, pop up and off the tweeter housing. And then disconnect it. Using a trim tool, pry up from the base of the door panel and pop it off. While holding or propping up the panel, lift up the insulation and pop off the handle cable like so. Disconnect the light. Pop the harness off all of its fastening points. And then disconnect it from the remaining locations. Set the door panel aside. With the trim tool, press in the center tab of the regulator connector and pull it free. Pop off the fasteners holding the harness down. Pinch and pull the last few connectors. And then drop the harness down. With an 8mm socket, remove the 4 bolts holding the speaker down. Now we need to remove the glass. Remove these grommets to expose the next few bolts you need to access. Use a trim tool to pop off the side of this weather stripping and lift the weather stripping off. To assist with lining up the window later, take some painter's tape and draw a straight line down the middle. Cut it in half. Now remove the 2 13mm bolts holding the window in place. Very carefully, grab the glass and lift it up and out. Set it aside on a soft surface where it won't get damaged. Remove all of the 8mm bolts holding this plastic assembly in place. There are 8 around the border, and 5 around the regulator. Pop off the black plastic assembly and remove it. These are the metal clips holding it in place. If they pop out, simply snap them back on. Remove these 3 grommets. For the door handle, remove the electrical connector by pulling down the red locking tab and pulling the connector out. With an 8mm socket and an extension, or 3, remove the 3 nuts holding the handle to the car. To make removal of the handle easier, we need to lower the window frame, temporarily reconnect the battery terminal, plug in the regulator and the window switch connector, and lower the frame. Once done, you can unplug everything again and disconnect the battery. Remove the factory door handle. Take your factory handle and with a T20 bit, remove the 2 screws holding the Hall effect sensor down. Remove the sensor and place it on the BT Perfected handle. Secure it with the same screws. Carefully slide the new handle in place and re-secure it with the 8mm nuts. Now we need to prep for running the wiring. Start by removing both ends of this rubber wire loom on the front door. Next, this cover plate here and the fastener under it. Be careful not to fully pull the centerpiece out or it will secure itself again, as Jared is showing here. Lift up and remove the door sill trim. With the aid of a trim tool, remove the side panel of the center trim. Remove the fasteners holding the footwell trim in place. Then pull down and remove the two connectors. Remove the side panel on the other side. Remove the fasteners and footwell panel on the passenger side too. Along with the two connectors. Since the control module will be living on the passenger side, feed the connectors for both driver's side doors from the passenger side of the center section to the driver's side like so. Take the front left cable and tape it to a large cable tie. Feed that cable tie through the door like so. Make sure it's through the plastic grommet as well. Use some WD-40 or a silicone spray to lubricate the rubber loom. Carefully feed and pull the cable tie and cable through. In the door, follow the OEM harness with the new cable, and then plug it in like so. Use cable ties to secure the BT Perfected harness to the OEM harness. This is crucial so it doesn't get caught up in the window. Now to start putting this together. Feed the harness through the center hole in the plastic portion and snap it back in place. Snap the wiring harness back in place. You can start reconnecting it as well. Plug it in. Snap the speaker back in place. Plug it in. And put the 8mm screws back in. We suggest a ratchet, but if you decide to use power tools like Jarrett, just make sure you have it on the lowest setting possible so you don't damage the plastic. Grab the door panel and plug the window switch back in. Roll up the window frame. Grab the door panel, grab the glass, and carefully line it up with the tape you put in place earlier. Carefully reinstall the 13mm bolts for the window. Remove the tape. Reinstall the weather stripping like so. Replace the grommets. Take the door panel once again and put everything back in place. The handle, the light, and everything else. Snap it all back into place too. Make sure you replace all of the grommets. Place the door panel in position and snap it into place. Plug in the tweeter and snap the housing back in place. Replace the 3 T30 bolts. Don't forget the reflector and cover plate. Now let's move on to the back door. Again, we'll only be showing this on the driver's side as the passenger side is the same. Remove the cover panel and the T30 bolt under it. Remove the T30 bolt under the armrest too. Pop off the door panel. Lift up the insulation and disconnect and unclip the harness like you did the front door. Remove the weather stripping by popping up on both sides and lifting up. Disconnect the harness from the regulator. Remove the grommets and remove the 13mm bolts holding the glass in place. Jarrett opted not to use tape lines for this window, but you can if you'd like. Carefully lift up the glass and set it aside on a soft surface. Remove the 8mm bolts on the outside of the plastic, but do not remove the inner ones. Removing the inner ones will disassemble the regulator. Once the bolts are removed, carefully pull the plastic assembly out by sliding it down and then away. Remove these grommets. Disconnect the handle by pulling down the center red tab and pulling it down. Remove this grommet. With an 8mm socket, remove the 3 8mm nuts holding the handle in place. Remove the factory door handle. Like the front, use a T20 bit to remove the Hall effect sensor. And place it on the BT perfected handle. Secure it with the same screws. Put the new auto-presenting handle in place like so. Reinstall the three 8mm nuts. Reinstall the grommets. Now we need to start prepping for the cable run. With a trim tool, pop free both sides of this rubber wire loom. Next, pop up this panel. You don't need to completely remove it. For the upper B-pillar trim, use a trim tool and your hands to pop it free like so. And slide it out of the way. For the lower B-pillar trim, locate this fastener and pop up the middle halfway and then remove it from the base. You could then pop the trim out of place and remove it. Take the cable for the rear door you ran earlier and feed it down the side of the car like so. Pass it through this opening here. And have your cameraman grab it from the other side and pull it through. If you don't have a cameraman, well, you could do this yourself. Tape the connectors to a large cable tie. And, like you did for the front, use some WD-40 as a lubricant to help pass the cable tie and cable through the rubber loom. Pass the cables through the door. And snap the sides of the rubber loom back in place. Back at the handle, snap the OEM connector back in place. Connect the BT Perfected harness to the handle like so. Just like you did up front, use cable ties to secure the run to the existing factory harness to keep everything secure and out of the way. Place the regulator assembly back in place like so and snap it down. Replace all of the 8mm bolts you removed. Remember that if you're using power tools, keep it at a low setting. Plug these back in. Take the rear glass and carefully slide it back down into place. Once it lines up, carefully reinstall the 13mm bolts. Replace the grommets. Reinstall the weather stripping like so. Grab the door panel and plug everything back in. Once done, snap the rear panel back in place. Replace the two T30 screws. Back at the B-pillar, secure the BT Perfected harness to the OEM harness to keep everything secure. Do this all of the way down. You'll want to run the harness up the OEM harness. So to make things easier, remove this tape if it's here, and feed the BT Perfected harness up the OEM harness. Tape it back up. this point, the harness from the front and your rear should meet, so make things cleaner by using cable ties to secure them together. Start the loom behind the carpet and pedals. Continuing to make the loom with cable ties as you go. On the side, secure it to the existing cables with cable ties. This all isn't exactly needed, but it creates a clean and professional-looking installation. Let's start putting things back together. Start by pressing down this rear piece. You may need to lift up the rear seat to make it easier. There's a latch underneath that you can press to pop it free. Make sure the weather stripping is over it like so, and don't forget to snap the rear seat back down. Next, the lower B-pillar trim. Snap it in place, and make sure the weather stripping is over it. It does go under that rear piece, so you may have to partially lift that up again, or just do this first. We're not judging Jared's order. For the upper trim, stretch the bottom around in place and snap down the top and bottom. Now we need to get power for the control module. If you didn't disconnect your battery, open the frunk and remove the cowl. Next, pull off the cabin air intake. You're going to need to cut a hole in this grommet right here to run the power from the 12-volt battery to the control module. Since this is our research and development car, Jared has already done so. Just make sure the hole is as big as you need for the power connector. It's a tough grommet, so be careful. Tape this end of the power cable to a large cable tie like so. Inside the cabin, feed the bare end of the cable tie through the grommet and pull the power lead through. Once through, remove the tape and connect it to this part of the harness. With a 10mm socket and 327 extensions, loosen the positive battery terminal just enough to slide under the fork connector from the BT Perfected power harness. And tighten it down. If you want, use a couple cable ties to secure the power harness. And start pulling the excess through into the cabin. Snap the cabin air intake back into place. Now let's get back inside to get the control module installed. To keep things in order and secure, use some cable ties to secure the power lead like so. Be careful around these red cables as they are high voltage. With a 10mm socket, loosen this grounding point just enough to slide under the -4 connector from the BT Perfected kit. Tighten down the nut. Once again, tidy up and secure the leads with cable ties. Grab the power harness connector and the connectors from the driver's side door, and use cable ties to secure the ends together like so. Tidy up all of the slack. This cable right here needs to run to the rear of the center console. So just run that out of the way under the console for now. The control module will live around the center of the footwell, so make sure they reach the ones from the passenger side you ran earlier. Now let's move to the back of the center console. With a trim tool, pop off this cover here. Since this is an R&D car and we have some more products to bring you soon, you'll see some other connectors that you won't see in your Tesla. To feed the cable to the rear, start by taking a large cable tie and feed it through like so. Keep in mind that this part might be tricky and you may feel things keep getting stuck. Just keep trying and you'll get it done. You may have to feel around and heavily persuade it to get it through. With the frustration of that part done, take this connector from the kit and tape it to the cable tie back up front. Pull it through like so. Disconnect this blue connector. It's worth noting that when this is disconnected, your key will not work on your Tesla. Take the white jumper section from the BT Perfected kit and bridge the blue connector like so. And plug that into the corresponding connector on the harness you just installed. Tidy up the slack and tuck it out of the way. Jared is going to disconnect this and add back in another connector, but this is just for another product that we're working on. You're already done with this section, but we figured we'd show you just so you don't think that you missed a step when the rear cover goes back on. Speaking of which, snap the rear cover back on. Back at the front of the car, let's start plugging everything into the control module. Take your module and plug in front left, rear left, front right, and rear right. Finally, the main harness. Take the control module and tuck it up out of the way like so. Now it's time to start putting everything back together. First, start by taking this side panel and snapping it back in. Next, take the footwell panel Plug it back in. Then snap it back in. Replace the fasteners. Let's finish tidying up the driver's side. Make sure the rubber loom is around the plastic sleeve and snap it back into place. Do the same with the bottom half. For this side trim, slide in the front locator tabs first, and then snap it down into place. With the aid of a trim tool, make sure that the weather stripping is over the trim. Replace the upper fastener. Snap the upper cover trim back on. And make sure the weather stripping is over it. Snap the inner side trim back into place. Plug in the upper footwell trim. And snap it into place. Replace the fasteners. And you're done.
So there you have it. The installation is done. Let's show you how to set up your phone to make this work. All right, guys, I'm gonna do this live just to show you how easy this is. We're gonna be using our Shop Android phone. It's gonna be the same whether you have an Android or Apple. So we're gonna go and to our Bluetooth devices here. And Beamer Tech, that's what we're looking for. So I'm gonna tap on that. It's gonna ask for a password. In this case, it's going to be 3811594. Yours could be different, so you're gonna wanna check your device. Then we're gonna hit pair. And as soon as we pair, bam, it's that easy. Once you have your phone all set up, simply approach your Tesla and your handles will automatically present. And they'll stay that way for about 20 seconds until they close. Of course, you can choose to use them like normal door handles if you want to, or you can manually have them auto-present simply by pressing them. Now keep in mind that even though the handles automatically present, this will not unlock your Tesla. You'll still have to do that in the method that you choose. Now, if you have any questions about this product, you can give our sales team a call, and if you order this product and have any questions during the installation, you can give our support team a call and they'll be happy to assist. But as always, for more tips and tricks, product reviews, and so much more for BMWs, Minis, Supras, and now Tesla, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to ring that bell. Want to know what's happening first? Head on over to our website and subscribe to our newsletter. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Thanks for watching.